Hello again, it's Pete Wyden. Welcome to your daily, semi-daily post here where I'm breaking down this week, breaking down different aspects of being the expert and valuing yourself and acting in a way that truly is expressing the experience that you have in a way that people really take advantage of and they're excited about. I also wanted to mention I do have a couple spots open for mentorship. If you are interested in learning more about how you can get your business to the next level or even get your business started, if you've already made the commitment that you're really going to jump in and do this, you're excited about it, send me a PM or leave a comment below. Let's talk. But I'm going to get into this expertise thing because it's huge. It comes down to confidence. And of course, the more that we practice, the more confidence we have. But there's also this energy piece of if we're not valuing ourselves properly, we're going to feel really drained because there's not a proper exchange happening. We might not be charging enough for our work. We might be putting in way more work than is necessary, which I'll also be talking about tomorrow. So most designers are undercharging hugely for their services, and I'll get into why this is. And also, as I'm talking about these things, notice what comes up in your mind. Are there thoughts of like, well, yeah, but there's a reason for this? Like, are you justifying the reasons why you think that you should be charging a certain price, or that, people might not be able to afford something? And there are, some ethical pieces to this. And I want to reiterate that I am not at all about just making money off of people just because they're interested in growing their own food. In fact, a lot of the people that you might find don't necessarily want to spend money, but it actually depends on the type of people, where you're finding them, what they're really looking to do. And that also doesn't mean that you can't help people that aren't willing to spend, a couple $1,000s or more on a design. It just means that you're going to have a different product to approach them with that still helps them, but doesn't require as much work from you, because it is a less valuable service. And I'll talk a bit more about that tomorrow. But so there are a few main reasons why designers are undercharging. You may be doing this yourself. You may not have started your business yet, so it's a great time to look at this. I'd say, as you consider these things, please leave a comment below or send me a message if you feel like you do need to raise your rates but don't know how to go about it. I've been there. I've been charging. I started out wanting to charge like $30 an hour for design, and now my rate is $100+ an hour for anyone that I work with, because I'm very efficient. And so as we get more efficient and become more of the expert in what we do, you could actually be costing yourself a lot of money by being very fast at what you do and only charging $30 an hour, rather than really charging for based on the amount of experience and time you've put into this that makes you efficient at what you do. So it's all relative depending on how efficient you are as well. If you're just starting out, it might make sense to charge less because you can still make a living, because you're spending more time on these projects and you're learning as you go. So a lot of people, as a designer or a consultant, look at any situation where they've just met somebody, or maybe you see someone's profile online, or you see the place they live in and their job and etc., and you assume that they can't afford a certain price point. And that's honestly the first mistake that happens when we're pricing our expertise, or at least when we're approaching the conversation of the sale, because depending on the type of work that you want to do, the type of lifestyle you want to have, the amount of money you want to make, and the amount of change you want to make happen in the world, that depends on the amount of money that you're charging per job. Maybe you're charging hourly or per project. I generally recommend charging per project, but you can break down how much that charge is by how many hours you think it'll be. But it's also nice to not give the customer a breakdown of all the hours you're spending. Just give them a lump sum, or else it just gets into the weeds and they'll start potentially questioning, like, why are you spending all these hours doing this thing? Because they don't necessarily understand the design process. But if you assume people can't afford a certain price point, you're automatically costing yourself money. And honestly, you are not allowing those people to receive the full value of what you can offer. Because, for example, one of my design clients right now spent over $8,000 on a design, which is, I also invite you now to see like what's coming up for you in your mind about, someone paying you $8,000 for a 1.5 acre design, about half a hectare. And those types of thoughts that come up are going to kind of show you where your thinking is at in terms of where you're valuing yourself and what you think that you can actually charge and what people will see value in from your work. But this person that I've been working with is not wealthy. I mean, compared to a lot of people in the world, yes, but in terms of America or a lot of places in Europe, just kind of your everyday, she made probably $50,000 or so a year while she was working, and now she's retired, and since she's retired, she has some extra money to spend and extra time to do her own landscape, but she needs a really detailed plan. And so she's getting a ton of value. She's getting basically an owner's manual for her property and how to get it established over the next decade. But, if I had assumed that because of her background, and the home she lives in is not fancy at all. It's very small. It was built in the 1950s. It honestly doesn't look that great if you just see it from the front. And if I had just assumed that, oh, well, she can only afford maybe $1,500, what would that have done? One, if I was doing the same amount of work for $1,500, I would feel like crap. I would feel really drained because I'm not making the money I need to, and I wouldn't be able to spend the time I need to on it because I'd be scrounging around looking for other clients to make ends meet and to build my business into what I really want it to be. So there's that piece, but there's also, if I'm only offering her a $1,500 product, is that actually meeting her needs? So there's a big piece of this. You need to, before you even tell someone what your price is, you always need to have a conversation with them about what they actually need, what they're actually looking for. And if they don't know, helping them to try and figure that out in this initial conversation you have with them before you mention any prices. A lot of people are going to ask you, how much does it cost to work with you? Honestly, I think the best answer is that it varies, because it depends on what they need and what they're looking to do. And that's the best answer for them too, because they're not shopping around for the lowest price. Ultimately, what they really need is the best value for their dollar, right? Which is a completely different way of thinking about things. And also, when you're telling someone that it varies because you need to learn more about what they actually want, you're showing them that you want to tailor their experience, the service that you're providing, to their needs, so they're actually getting what they want. There are a lot of landscapers out there who just have a flat rate for everybody. And while I do that for a certain number of certain size projects to make things easier for myself, I'm not just spouting out numbers to people because, one, they're probably going to walk away, or at least, kind of be questioning things, because I'm not the cheapest person to work with by far. But for the right person, it's a great fit, and they're ready to jump in. So also, there's no need to feel like everyone you're talking to needs to become a client, because it's just not the way it is. But you may find, and you have to get out there and talk with people, that there are different tiers of people that you're working with and for, that have different services that you're tailoring to them, that have different price points, and they get a different value, and you put a different amount of work into each of those. So you also, being a permaculture-oriented person, we are very ethical people in general. We're very interested in social equality and various forms of equity across the board. And so you may have the belief, which is not a bad one, that charging less helps more people. So I would tell you that, in my experience, charging less only helps a certain type of person who is looking for the cheaper way out. And while that may be what they need, you really need to find out in that initial conversation if that is in fact what they need, such as maybe you're just going to charge them $500 to build a couple raised beds and do a veggie garden plan for them. Or maybe what they actually need is a bigger landscape. And so if you're doing a $500 project for someone, a couple raised beds, how many of those projects do you need to make, say, a $50,000 income for the year? You'd need to do, I believe, 100 of those projects. That's a lot. And you'd be really, really busy, and you'd probably burn yourself out. You might get really good at it. You might be able to hire some people, but the amount of money you're charging also determines the number of projects that you need to do. So there's this aspect of helping more people by charging less. That's a belief many people have in every industry. But what about if you do, for example, this 1.5 acre permaculture plan that I'm doing, which is going to produce way more food than this one family that I'm designing for? Who else is going to benefit from that? And how much work are they going to have to put in to benefit from that full landscape that's been designed for $8,000? The intention of a landscape like that, in my mind, and I'm sure you think about things this way as well, and I know Alicia, maybe you're still watching, you're thinking about this too, is that we're trying to create a world in which people don't have to work so hard for healthy, nourishing food, to connect with nature, to connect with each other and the seasons. And what better way to help more people than doing a more elaborate design that, does meet the needs of the person who lives there. And of course, you want to make sure that they're able to maintain it, or they have the resources around them, such as neighbors, to help them do that. In this case, with one of the people I work with, she wants to do that. She wants to bring in gleaning groups to pick the fruit, and she wants to hire a couple high school kids to learn about the gardens and to help out in the summers, for example. So you can see how these different perspectives really affect the way we think about things. It's not that charging less is going to help more people necessarily. You might charge $20,000, which might seem like a crazy figure to you right now, but it won't if that's what you're really interested in and that's what you want to work up toward. And we can talk about that more. Feel free to leave a comment, send me a message. But charging more can actually help more people depending on the project and what you're focused on. So keep that in mind. There's always a different way to think about things that makes it feel good to earn the type of living that you want to make the type of impact you want to in the world. We're not just charging tons of money for the sake of it. There's an explicit reason why these are higher end, higher value services, because they have a greater benefit to the world, and because as we gain and grow in our own expertise, we're able to work more efficiently, and so it takes us less time to do things, but we're also much more adept in our region or in the regions we specialize in, and in the teams that we create around ourselves, whether they're employees or what I suggest is building relationships with other consultants that you don't have to employ, and really getting good at the thing you focused on, so that when you are providing this service, you are the best person providing it. And because you have focused solely on getting the results for people that you're helping them get with the tailored plan that you found that is going to serve them best because of the conversations you're having with them up front. You're asking questions and listening. So this comes down, this number 2 is really related to number 3, that a lot of people feel that making money is taking advantage of others. And so I invite you to ask yourself why you feel that way. What experiences in the rest of your life have led you to believe that making money is taking advantage of others? And I'm sure that a few things come to mind, such as the whole corporatocracy, the oil companies, the extractive resource extraction that many capitalistic societies and companies are based on. But I invite you to look a different way at the economies that we live in and see if there's another way to earn money, to earn a wonderful living, and do wonderful things in return for people. To have that exchange be truly equal rather than be extractive, to have it be constructive, and to really create something that is meeting someone's needs above and beyond what they even asked for. How can you do that? How can you make that happen with the services that you offer? And the insights and creativity and experience that go into your expertise and the way that you uniquely approach a site to make it into something much more than it could have been dreamed about by just that property owner or that organization alone that you're working with. So it's not about taking advantage of people to make money. That's not what permaculture is about, nor is it what people are going to feel when you're doing a permaculture design for them, because of the way that you approach your work, because you're highly engaged with what you do. You really show up, you're there, you're not just taking the money and giving them a cookie cutter plan by any means. And that's not what I do. I'm sure that's not what you do. And so we have these altruistic intentions, and there's no need to shy away from conversations around sales, from accepting money and having of having an abundance in general of true wealth, socially, economically, ecologically, emotionally, spiritually in your life, physically, it can be a normal thing for you, and it can be a wonderful thing. It can be something that, in terms of the money aspect, that you accept money in your life as a tool to be the currency through which you create the change that you wish to see in the world, and that other people that you're surrounded by, that you're working with, and that you touch in your life are able to see how effective their money is when it's applied toward the work you do versus applied toward the conventional nursery down the street that sells all the roses and hydrangeas. This is a completely new way of thinking about things for most of us. And so I invite you to look back at this video, listen to it again, repeat some of these thoughts to yourself, like, I accept money to create the change I wish to see in the world. Money is a powerful tool to benefit everyone around me. And no, ultimately we shouldn't need money. God or the universe, whoever, has provided so many amazing things on this planet, so much abundance. But money is really, right now in our societies, the glue that keeps everything moving. It allows us to have an energetic exchange of our work and our expertise for someone else's results, and makes that happen very fluidly. And it's a very easy way to do things. I am looking into some other ways of energy exchange, of work exchange, that do feel really good. There's a movement by this man, Michael Tellinger, called the Ubuntu movement, which is a contributionist-based philosophy that we all contribute what we're best at, and that ends up being a fully functional society. And I'm working on that with a farm that I'm starting to manage in Wisconsin on 160 acres, which I'll talk about more as we keep moving along with that project. But for now, money is not a bad thing. It's a wonderful thing if we approach it in the right way, and we approach the conversations we have around money in a way that we are truly showing up and following through and doing amazing things in exchange for it. So I hope that gives you a little bit lighter aspect in terms of the conversation and thoughts around money, and can open up some new doors to really allowing that to flow into your life and become your new normal. So like I mentioned, I do have some coaching spots open for you guys if you're interested in business mentorship or just talking a little bit more. You don't have to pay me just to ask me some questions on comments or in a personal message. We can start the conversation and keep it going that way too. The mentorship is really above and beyond for people who want to see true results very quickly and really jump forward very, very fast in terms of getting clients, getting higher rates, doing the type of work that you really want to do. That's where the mentorship comes in. And this group is really about sharing what I've gleaned and helping to everybody to up level so we can bring permaculture to the mainstream. That's what this is all about. So I hope you guys have an awesome Wednesday, and I will be back here tomorrow with some more insights. I'm looking forward to anything that you got from this conversation, this oratory here. Leave a comment, let me know if something stood out to you. Thanks for checking in, and I'll see you around. Bye.